Hello there, dear Junior 6 students, and welcome to a new Oliver Twist video. In the last video, we spoke about Chapter 5 and the events that take place in this chapter. So let me remind you very quickly of the summary of that chapter. Oliver wakes up, as you know, in Fagin's house and sees Fagin holding some valuable watches and jewels. Fagin tells him that these things are his. Oliver then watches a game played by Fagin and the boys in which they take things out of Fagin's pocket. Oliver loves it and plays it later with Fagin. Fagin teaches Oliver how to take marks out of handkerchiefs to help them in his work. Okay, before we proceed to chapter 6, what I want you to do is that I want you to read chapter 6 from the the reader itself, and on the CD you can find the three tracks reading this chapter, A, B, and C. I want you to listen to them and read chapter 6 from the reader. Okay, now that I think that you have done what I asked you to do, let's move on to discussing the summary of this chapter. In chapter 6, Jack Dawkins and Charlie Bates go to work and take Oliver with them. Oliver discovers what type of work they actually do. He sees them steal a handkerchief from an old man who is standing in front of a bookshop reading. So, this is the moment of truth. Oliver finally finds out what their true job is when he sees them stealing a handkerchief from an old gentleman. Jack and Charlie run, and Oliver runs too. The old gentleman, also known as Mr. Brownlow, sees Oliver running and thinks he is the thief. The people catch Oliver, and a constable takes him to the police station. So Oliver panics when they run, so he runs after them. People think that Oliver is the thief and not the boys. So a constable or a police officer catches him and takes him to the police station. The owner of the bookshop tells the police that the thieves are two other boys and that Oliver is innocent. Oliver faints and Mr. Brownlow takes him to his house. So the owner of the bookshop comes to testify or tell the police that Oliver is innocent. He didn't do anything. It wasn't him. Oliver faints and Mr. Brownlow decides to take him to his house. Dawkins tells Fagin that the police have Oliver, and Fagin gets angry. Bill Sykes, another thief, arrives with his dog and learns about Oliver. So Fagin is now afraid that the police would know about him. Bill Sykes is a new character that appears in our novel. He is an angry man. They tell him about Oliver. Sykes orders Nancy to go to the police station and ask about Oliver. She wears clean clothes and goes to the station. She comes back and tells Fagin that Oliver is in Mr. Brownlow's house. So now Nancy plays a role of a fine girl dressed in nice clothes. Sykes sends her to the police station to ask about Oliver. They know that Mr. Brownlow, the old gentleman they tried to steal his handkerchief, uh, they know now that this gentleman has Oliver. Fagin orders the boys and Nancy to watch the bookshop and look for Oliver before he says anything about them. So Fagin has a plan now. He plans to bring Oliver back before he tells the police about them or tells anyone about them. Do you think that they will be able to bring Oliver back? And how is Oliver doing in Mr. Brownlow's house? Well, we will know about that in chapter 7. Now, let's move on to our important quotations presentation. Okay, now we should look at the important quotation that we have in this chapter. It's only one this time. It says, I am not really sure that this boy took the handkerchief. You will find this one on page 21 of your readers. Of course, as you can see, Mr. Brownlow says this to the constable in the street after the constable has caught Oliver, thinking that he is the thief who has stolen Mr. Brownlow's handkerchief. And Mr. Brownlow, of course, as you can notice, he feels pity for Oliver. He is a very kind man. So now that we are done with chapter 6 of Oliver Twist, let's move on to doing some exercises about chapters 4, 5, and 6. You can find these exercises on the CD. It's in an application called Pearson English Active Reader, Oliver Twist. Okay, so let's start with this matching exercise. We are going to match the second half of the sentence to its first half. So let's read the first one. When Fagin felt a hand in his pockets, what did he do? This is in the game. He cried out. Excellent. Number 2. Dawkins put his hand in the old man's pocket. What does he do next? Or what did he do next? Great, he took a handkerchief. Number 3. A policeman or a constable pushed through the crowd. What did he do? He seized Oliver by the neck. He grabbed Oliver's neck. Number 4. Someone hit Oliver. Great job, and he fell to the ground. Number 5. Oliver was covered in dust. Remember when he first arrived in London? He was covered in dust and there was blood on his feet. Excellent job. Number 6. In clean clothes and with a little basket. Who wore clean clothes? Nancy. She looked very sweet. Excellent. And the last one. Fagin took out 6 watches from where? From his box. And what did he do? He looked at them with pleasure. Great job. Let's move to the following practice. Crossword puzzle like the one we did before. Okay, let's start with a cross. This question says, Oliver watched and horses go past. We need a word that means a vehicle that is pulled by horses of 5 letters. A coach. Excellent. Number 5. A police seized Oliver by the neck. A police constable. Great. 7. Fagin had a very looking face. An evil looking face. Or a very evil looking face. Number 9. Mr. Brownlow had white hair and glasses. He had gold glasses. Okay, moving on to down. Oliver's friend Dick said goodbye and you. And bless you. Great. 2. Dick was working in the when Oliver saw him. He was working in the garden of the workhouse. Wonderful. Number 4. Oliver and fell to the ground in the police station. Oliver fainted. Good. Number 5. Fagin picked up and threw it at Dawkins. When Dawkins told him about Oliver in the police station, he threw a cup. Very good. Number 6. There were some beautiful rings in Fagin's box. Great. Number 8. Oliver ate some bread and meat in an inn. Remember the small hotel? Let's check our answers. They are correct. Wonderful. Let's move to another exercise. Here we are going to put or to tick right, wrong, or the question mark, which means it doesn't say. Number one, Jack Dawkins stole a handkerchief from Mr. Brownlow. Is it right, wrong, or it doesn't say? It is right. Excellent. Number two, Nancy was an orphan. Does it say that Nancy was an orphan? No, so we don't know about that. We know that Oliver was the orphan one. Number three, Charlie Bates found Oliver and took him to Fagin's house. Was it Charlie Bates? So wrong, it was Jack Dawkins. Wonderful. Number four, Oliver's friend Dick was a very sick boy. It was correct because he was dying, unfortunately. Number five, Oliver had to walk 70 miles to London. It is right. Remember the stone that he found on his way? Yes. Number six, Fagin had black hair. Was Fagin's hair black? No, it wasn't. It was red. Number seven, Mr. Sykes had a white dog. Excellent. It is right, as we have seen in the presentation moments ago. Number eight, Mr. Sykes was an old man. Was Mr. Sykes an old man? No, it is wrong. So let's check our answers. 8 out of 8. Excellent job, guys. Moving on to the following exercise. Here we are going to put the words in the right place to make sentences. Number one, Oliver. What is the second word? Of course, it's saw. What did Oliver see? He saw a boy looking at him. Excellent. Number two. Which word do you think we should start with? Fagin. Excellent. And then we need a verb. Where is the verb? Was. So Fagin was dressed. Very good. He was dressed in strange clothes. Very good. Number three. We have here gentleman and pocket. What do you think we should start with? The. Then the old gentleman. This is Mr. Brownlow. The old gentleman put his. Very good. Put his hand in his pocket. Wonderful. Moving on to number four. We have here door and bet only. The first word we should start with is the door. The door opened and Bet and Nancy, very good, Bet and Nancy came in. Great job, guys, you're doing great. Number five, Dawkins gave, we need the verb. Dawkins gave, what did Dawkins give? He gave the handkerchief to Charlie Bates. After taking it out of Mr. Brownlow's pocket, he gives it to Charlie Bates. Very good, guys. The last one in this test or in this exercise, we have the last word is Dick. Which word do you think we should start with? Oliver. So Oliver was glad to see Dick. Excellent, guys. Great job. Let's check our answers. 100% true. Very good, guys. Let's move on to the third one. Here we are going to answer or match the answers to each question. Okay, number one says, why did Oliver think that Dawkins was a strange boy? How did Dawkins look like? Because he behaved like a man. He wore a man's clothes. Although he was Oliver's age, he wasn't an old man. Number two, what were the boys doing when Oliver arrived at Fagin's house? They were they were smoking pipes. Very good. Number three, where was Mr. Brownlow when the two boys stole his handkerchief? What was he doing? He was reading a book. Very good. And where was he standing? He was outside a bookshop. Very good. Number four. Who said that Oliver hadn't stolen the handkerchief? The person who came to say that Oliver was innocent was the owner of the bookshop. Very good. Number five. How did Dick know that he was very ill? Because he heard the doctor say he was dying. Number six. How far did Oliver walk to London? How many miles? 70 miles. Excellent. And the last question says, what did Mr. Sowerberry give to Oliver? He gave him a penny coin. Very good, guys. Let's check our answers. Correct. Okay, in this one, we are going to put these sentences in the right place to make a story. Okay, so what do you think we should start with? Excellent. The very first thing that Oliver does after running away from the Sowerberry's house was saying goodbye to Jack. Number two, he meets Jack Dawkins in London, and then Oliver saw Fagin looking at beautiful rings and jewels, and then Fagin and the boys played a strange game. What happens after that? Mr. Brownlow's handkerchief was stolen. Great. And then Bill Sykes arrived at Fagin's house. And the last one, as you can see, Nancy went to the police station. Checking our answers, 6 out of 6. Very good. Moving on to the last exercise, guys. Number one, in this exercise, we are going to choose the right word. Okay, number one says, Dawkins bought Oliver some bread and something to drink. Remember in the inn? What did Oliver have? He had some bread and meat. Very good. Number two, Jack Dawkins gave Fagin two purses. Great. Number three, Mr. Brownlow took Oliver to his house. Wonderful. Number four, Mr. Sykes was drinking in Fagin's house. He was drinking. Of course, Mr. Sykes will not drink tea or coffee, he will drink beer. Number five, Fagin pulled out a box from a secret hole in the floor. Great job. The last one says, the place where Fagin lived was it clean? Was it safe? Was it cold? It was dirty, of course. So let's check our answers. Correct. Great job, guys. You are doing a wonderful job. Okay, at this point, we come to the end of chapter 6 of Oliver Twist. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and in next time, inshallah, we are going to discuss chapter 7 of Oliver Twist. Until then, stay safe and thank you so much for watching.